What's going on YouTube? So there are a few vehicles as iconic all around the globe as this Toyota Land Cruiser. It has been sold continuously for over 60 years here in America. However, this year will be its last. That's right, here in the US at least, Land Cruiser will meet its demise at the end of this model year. So with that being said, let's review and say farewell to this icon. So the Land Cruiser has always had a certain Land Cruiser-y look, basically very tough, but also rather subdued, and that does continue for its last model year, of course. So up in the front, we have that classic look. It does have some body-colored inserts as well as chrome trim through it and around it. And then that chrome does extend over here to your headlights as well. Now these lights are pretty much fully LED. Your high beams, your low beams, and your daytime running light. However, your turn signal is incandescent. And then down below, you will notice LED fog lights as well. Now, of course, I do have to speak about your ground clearance because this is a Land Cruiser after all, and we do have 8.9 inches of ground clearance. And continuing the traditional design, we have our 18-inch alloy wheels. Of course, they just have a more basic design, and then we also have that paired with some all-terrain tires. Now, if you want to get the Heritage Edition, that will continue to have the bronze-colored wheels. And then moving up here to our mirrors, they come fully loaded as you'd expect for this price point. So we have power folding, we have auto dimming, heating, and blind spot monitoring.
All right, so let's go ahead and check out the rear design of this iconic Land Cruiser. Now, what's going on back here? It's, obviously not quite as flashy as what you get in a Lexus LX. It has that subtle but very distinct Land Cruiser look that it's had for the past many years. Now, as far as what's actually included in that design, we have this chrome piece that goes through the taillights, has Land Cruiser embossed in it, and then the taillights themselves are going to be partially LED. As you can see, the brake light portion is LED, however, the turn signal and reverse light are both incandescent. And then dropping down, you're not going to have a very exposed exhaust, but you do have one outlet here on the left side, as well as you'll notice our tow hitch, and the maximum tow rating is going to be 8,100 pounds for this Land Cruiser. So while many parts of this Land Cruiser are more old school than new school, the safety systems are not going to be one of those because it is going to include every single one of them standard on all of the Land Cruiser models. So that's going to include forward emergency braking and pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and your auto high beam headlamps. But anyway, guys, that sums up the exterior design of this iconic Land Cruiser. Now let's go ahead and see all the luxury that the Land Cruiser is going to coddle you with on the inside. But before we do that, hit that subscribe button down below.
So on the Land Cruiser, of course, you do have a standard smart entry system, and you have a special dedicated Land Cruiser branded key fob with little tire treads, and it does have a more premium design than the typical Toyota fob. And then to get inside the truck itself, just reach behind the handle since there is a sensor. Alright, now taking a look inside of the cabin, of course you probably didn't expect any significant changes, and indeed there are not any significant changes to the design for 2021. Now, like most aspects of the Land Cruiser, there's not a great deal of choices when it comes to material and color options. So what you get standard is fine semi-aniline leather in your choice of this black or a terracotta color, and then if you choose that Heritage Edition, it will have bronze accenting throughout the cabin. Now turning over here to your door trim, you will find nice materials up here. So you have leather across the armrest as well as above it. You have more open pore walnut wood trim through here, and the top part will be padded. As you can see, you have standard 3-person memory seating, and all 4 windows are one-touch auto up and down. Checking out these seats, these are 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. And then, like I was already mentioning, these are semi-aniline leather seats. Really lovely feeling leather. This is some of the finest leather you can get in any type of vehicle, and they're extremely comfortable as well. Now to get inside, you have fixed running boards as well as an assist grip. Now, of course, at this price point, you would expect the cabin to be very nice, and indeed it is. So across our upper dash, this is going to be finished in a soft touch plastic, as well as this area. Below that, we have some open pore walnut wood trim. And then Toyota trims this area in a leatherette material with color contrast stitching. Down below here, you have some hard touch materials, but everything in here, of course, feels very durable and very rugged. Now start up, put your foot on the brake, and press the standard button. Now the Land Cruiser, of course, is a decidedly analog kind of truck, which is why you do have analog gauges as well. They have a really clean and classy look to them, and then right there in the middle you have your 4.2-inch multi-function display. This contains a lot of different kinds of information, including some off-road information as well. Now coming back to the steering wheel, of course we have a nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. It does have the open pore walnut wood that traces the top and the bottom, and then you do have a faux stitching here on the airbag cover. As far as the wheel itself, it is going to be power, tilt, and telescoping, as well as heated. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about interior storage. Of course, this is a big SUV. You expect that you have plenty of storage. Starting with our center console, this opens in 2 parts. So the top part has just a little bit of storage so you can stick a small object. However, when we open up the main area, this is where you'll find a really large center console, or you can choose to get this model's cool box. So this can be used as a refrigerator. It does limit the space a little bit, but it's still very large and can definitely fit some soft drinks or something like that in there. And if you want to keep your coupons nice and cool, you can stick those in there as well. Now up in front of that, we have our 2 cup holders. And then up in the front, if you press this, this will fold down, and you'll notice a big slot here. This actually is a wireless phone charging pad, so you can stick your phone in there, and you also have a 12-volt outlet, as well as USB and aux jack. Now sliding back here to the shifter, this is just a traditional gated style shifter. Pull back for drive, you can bump over here to the left if you want to do some manual shifting. However, there are no paddle shifters. And then heading into reverse, just like most of the equipment on this truck, you do have a standard 360-degree camera system. As you can tell, it has a pretty nice resolution. You've got both your views there, and you can also change to a wide view as well. Then right next to that, you have your traditional style handbrake. Now, all around the shifter, we have a lot of buttons. It basically looks like, I don't know, an airplane or something with all the buttons you have, but this is related, of course, to your off-road systems. I'm not going to talk about what each button individually does, but I'll just let you guys get a good look at your different four-wheel drive controls, your crawl mode, stuff like that, locking differentials. All that's going to be located right here in this one control panel. Now up in front of the shifter, you have some stuff related to comfort. This is going to be your standard 3-stage heated seats, your standard 3-stage ventilated seats, both automatic, and you also have the heated steering wheel that I mentioned. Alright, now that brings us up here to our large volume and tune knobs. So what we've got on board is your JBL synthesis sound system with 14 speakers. That is of course standard equipment, so we'll go ahead and give it a sample. So overall sound quality is definitely very strong on this system. Okay, now above that, I will point out you have a CD player, so for those of you guys who still like that. And then right around that, we have our 4-zone automatic climate control system. So it's definitely cool to see that many zones on board. Very simple to use, of course. You're just gonna use these toggles to adjust your temperature, which will show up right there. I will say some of your features, like your fan speeds though, you do have to hit the climate button and then make those adjustments up here in the display. And speaking of that display, let's go ahead and get talking about that. So this is a 9-inch display. So Toyota has opted, since this is the last model year of the Land Cruiser in the US, to not update this. So this will continue with the older style in-tune system. It does have integrated navigation, however, you will be missing both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now jumping up above that, we have a standard frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes built into it. Up top here we have some, what? It's not touch sensitive? And then over here we do also have a standard size moonroof. As you can see, it does open up nice and large. We have a wind blocker, and we also have a very nice and soft headlight.
Alrighty guys, so I'm in the Land Cruiser's rear seat. Of course, this is such an iconic vehicle. You probably already know what this rear seat is like, but it's very luxurious, as the price tag, of course, would suggest. Now, let's talk about the space first, though. As far as the legroom figures are concerned, you're going to come in at 34.4 inches of rear legroom, 39 inches of rear headroom. As far as how that compares to its rivals, this really doesn't have any rivals, but if you compare it to like a large luxury 3-row, of course, that's going to be a lot less space, but this is an iconic vehicle, so this is just what it is. Now, behind rear seating position, I have, I would say, 7 inches of rear legroom, and as far as my feet sliding up underneath the seat, that's actually not going to happen since we do have the high floor, and as you can see, I don't really have great thigh support back here. But as far as the features go, there's a lot of them. So here in the center, we do have vents. If we drop down below that, we also have our 4-zone climate control, so each rear passenger back here can adjust their own climate. We also have standard 2-stage heated rear seats. And then dropping further below that, we do have an HDMI outlet. And then at the very bottom, we have a 12-volt power outlet. Now, you're probably wondering why we have the HDMI outlet, and that's because we also have the optional rear seat entertainment system on this model. It includes these dual 11.6-inch displays with wireless headphones. That's going to be a $2,200 option on this Land Cruiser. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and check out the Land Cruiser's 3rd row. Now, in order to get back here, you just find this little lever here, pull it once, and it does fold it as well as lift it out of the way. Now, let's go ahead and get back into the 3rd row. All right. So as you probably expected, this is not the best 3rd row. This is certainly not like a BMW X7 or Mercedes GLS. This isn't very comfortable. That said, you can fit 3 people back here if you need it. And, you know, the thigh support is obviously not great. The leg room's not great. My feet can't slide up under the seat. But Toyota does give you 2 cup holders on each side, as well as vents and some lighting up top. Now, walking up to the tailgate, the uniqueness is going to continue. Obviously, this is a unique vehicle through and through, and that's also going to go here for the tailgate. So you're not going to have hands-free or anything like that, but it is power. So if you push this, you'll notice that the top part does slowly open. But you also have this part that kind of folds down. So it's a 2-part opening tailgate. Some of you may like that for tailgating or whatnot. Now, as far as the space itself is concerned, it's going to have 16 cubic feet of space behind the 3rd row seats. That expands to 43 cubic feet if you fold them, and as a maximum, you have a little over 80 cubic feet of space. Now, of course, that's also not as big as like a X7 or a GLS, but certainly enough for most people's needs. Now, as far as the features are concerned, we do have some storage here in the tailgate itself. And then I do also want to point out for the third row, it's not going to be power folding. Unlike the Lexus LX, this is a manual folding setup, and I tried to do it, and it's pretty difficult to do. So just keep that in mind. And off to the left side, we do have a household style outlet. Now, as you would expect out of an expensive SUV like this, you do have a power adjusting passenger seat with all of your adjustments. Then if we open up the glove box, this is a pretty decently sized glove box. I mean, it's not the biggest thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely enough to fit our coupons in. So just because you drive a $90,000 SUV does not mean you can't use the coupons. So be sure to use those, help pay off this car. And then up top, we do have a sun visor with a mirror and light. And this is the unique two-part sun visor setup, so you actually have two different sun visors, so you can have it here on the side as well as in the front.
All right, and there you go. You got your big burly V8. So this has the 5.7 liter V8, 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque. So obviously those are good power figures, and it certainly gets this up to speed nicely, even though this is nearly 6,000 pounds. So this is a very heavy SUV.
It's basically like a tank rolling around on wheels. So it really is a good thing that they put a big V8 in here, because it does get up to speed reasonably well. It's not going to like blow your mind. This is certainly not like a X7 M50i or something like that, but it's adequate for sure.
Now paired to the V8 engine, you have an 8-speed automatic transmission. This is a really nice transmission, very smooth and refined. It shifts out nicely. You basically don't really even notice it, so that definitely goes with kind of the luxury of driving this on the road itself. And of course you also have a very sophisticated 4-wheel drive system as well.
Yeah. Now, he was talking about the luxury side of things. Now, obviously, in addition to all of its off-road prowess, this also is very luxurious. So we will get a sound level reading going 55 miles per hour, so we can compare to some of its rivals. And we're going to be sitting at 55.2 decibels. That's a really good reading. That's on par with the luxury vehicles that we test, for sure.
And now is as good a time as any to mention on street. I do want to talk about the fact that you have pretty considerable brake dive as well as nose lift when you accelerate. Just due to the suspension, of course, being very off-road minded. It is soft, so you do have that characteristic going on a little bit, but I'm sure it's something that you would get used to driving it day to day.
Yeah. Now, you may be curious as to what the fuel economy is going to be for this big Land Cruiser. Well, it's not going to be good. Certainly not good, but it's rated at 13 city, 17 highway, 14 combined. Since it's only available in 4-wheel drive, that's your only fuel economy across the Land Cruiser lineup. So you will be definitely paying a pretty penny at the pump. That said, I don't believe this car requires premium fuel, so you will at least save on that front compared to like a luxury vehicle like a BMW or a Mercedes.
And you have a very handy eco indicator here in the gauge cluster, so that you can monitor, and hypermile your Land Cruiser. I'm glad Toyota included that feature. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's Slam Dunk and Airball. I'm going to start with the Slam Dunk, and that's going to be just really kind of the Land Cruiser in general. You know, this is the last model year. I think we have to celebrate just how iconic this vehicle is, just how capable it is, just how luxurious it is. It really is just a unique truck that, you know, it's really going to leave a gaping hole in everyone's heart and in the auto market in general.
Now, going along with that, the airball today is going to be the price, because unfortunately the reason I guess Toyota is getting rid of it is because they didn't sell too many of these, and I'd say a lot of that has to do with the price tag of it. It's not cheap by any means. So it starts at $85,655. Heritage Edition is going to be $87,995. Now this one, when you add in the destination charge, is going to come in just a touch under $90,000. So that's clearly why it is today's airball. It's just the fact that that's so expensive. It really puts it out of the reach of the vast majority of people. So I understand why it's expensive, but that's, you know, kind of the worst part about it, for sure.
And maybe in the future, if Toyota listens and they bring back the next generation of the Land Cruiser to America, which we hope they do, maybe they'll also bring back more affordable versions like you can get in other countries as well. But to conclude, you know, it's kind of sad to see something so iconic, especially something that's been on sale in the US for 60 years, to be going away. You know, it's definitely saddening to us, and it's, why you look at me like that?
I'm over on that one.
You know, I don't want to reiterate too much, but of course, you know, this is an iconic vehicle that just has so much capability and so much luxury, and, you know, we certainly hope and pray that Toyota will bring back a new generation here in a few years.
Well guys, we really appreciate you watching this in-depth review of the 2021 Toyota Land Cruiser. If you haven't taken a second to hit that subscribe button already, we would really appreciate if you did that. It helps us to keep making content like this and provides us with a lot of new opportunities, as well as you the opportunity to watch a lot of our cool content that will be coming up over these next few weeks and months. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.